It is said that brightness of your determination will light up the plan to your future. On this note, namaste and a very warm greetings from India to all the partakers over the world. I, CA Charlie, extend a very warm cordial welcome to the dignitaries on today's ICAI Global Virtual Seminar on Ethics and Sustainability. Ethics is all about having the right attitude, and right attitude is having a right mindset. So in short, ethics is all about having the right mindset. An issue that brings each mind today is one way to look for a high level answer would be, of course, yes. Ethics and sustainability often go hand in hand. So ethics concern the guiding principle that enables our species to live a cooperative, moral existence. According to the Center for Human and Nature, ethics is also inseparable from the ideas of justice, consequence, and proper use of authority. To spotlight on ethics and sustainability, Ethical Standard Board of ICAI, under the proficient chairmanship of CA Praful Chachir sir, has organized the session on Global Virtual Seminar on Ethics and Sustainability. Today, we are fortunate enough that we are having the presence of galaxies of learned stalwarts with us. I take the honor to welcome CA Nihar Jambusurya sir, President ICAI, CA Prafula Chachir sir, former President ICAI, Ms. Nancy Fordham, Board Member, CAPA, Founder, ESG. CA Amarjit Chopra, a person who is always standing tall for our profession. CA Sundar Nurani, Chairman, Dubai Chapter, and CA Asim Trivedi, FDP, ESB Faculty. I thank all the distinguished invitees for accepting our invitation and making up despite your busy schedule. The seminar by opening remarks and address by Chairman Ethical Standard Board, CA Praful Chachir. With enthusiasm combined with dedication, CA Praful Chachir sir has always been actively involved in the activities of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. A dedicated person who is always on board and happy to help the profession. Past President of ICAI 1920, and he is also Global Chairman of Executive Committee of World Congress of Accountants 22, constituted by International Federation of Accountants. He is also elected as a board member of Federation of Asian and Pacific Accountants, that is CAPA. I request CA Praful Chachir sir for his remarks. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Very good evening. Good morning to some people, including Nancy. Good afternoon to many of my friends, and maybe some of our friends who are from Australia and little far off. For them, it will be a late evening. Thank you for joining at the outset. I'm thankful to our president, Mr. Nihar Jambusurya, who is, despite of all those things, is always, very encouraging all of us that activities should be always be continuing, including these kind of global things where, when entire profession, entire world is, reshaping the things. So how we can understand what is happening the other parts of the world, and so that best accounting, auditing, and the necessary guidance can be given to the profession of accountancy. So thank you, our president. Thank you, sir. I also see on the screen our beloved past president, Amarjit Chopra ji, who will be soon introduced, but he's the one person who is always standing tall for the profession. I am also privileged to have today Nancy Fordham. Before starting her own venture, she was with the CPA Canada, and she has always helped the profession, especially for the various MRAs and MOU in that particular region. We have dear friend Sundar Nurani, chairman of the Dubai chapter. Asim Trivedi, again, one person who is always for the cause of the profession when it comes to ethical things, and also my office team. Before I talk few things about the today's VCM, just for the knowledge of Nancy, you will be surprised that in India, the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, which is the sole regulator of the accounting profession, we started our ethical standards board way back in 1976. And following year, the International Ethical Standard Board was set up in the year 1977. So, we ICAI has a lot of credits when it comes to the first for the profession. Of course, even as far as number is concerned, we are the second largest professional body. So our members are always trying to, help the entire globe as our contribution to the profession. Dear participants, now today's topic is really very important: ethics and sustainability. So many people will ask what is the correlation, why we are talking, but suddenly last 2 years, this pandemic has taught us many things. And the very important thing is about sustainability. And if you want to be sustainable for a very long period, it is only the ethics, which is the benchmark of our profession. Now everybody must follow the ethics in whatever they do. Then only this beloved planet will be there for the future generation, the way we see and with the way we want for our future generation. Now various concepts are also coming: corporate social responsibility, even now at the IFAC level, at the IFRS level, now they are talking about the sustainability standards, how the entire profession can also align themselves with the United Nations SDGs goals. So I think in today's webinar, the various people will give the highlights of the certain things. Definitely, this is a vast topic, but from every speaker, we will collect few points that I'm quite sure will help all of us, the practicing chartered accountant or non-practicing chartered accountant, to understand and also make our contribution when world is talking about sustainability. Friends, as we have so many speakers, I don't want to take your further time, but only thing, as our Honorable President has launched few days before, as you are aware, CA Connect portal. And that is one, very important initiative which we have taken, because when we talk about ethics, there are prohibitions as far as advertising of the practicing chartered accountant and their firms, etc. But that initiative at the ICAI level we have taken. That portal was already, inaugurated by our president, and we have made one very nice video, so that it is a very informative video. After the president's speech is over, we'll have one bite of that, and at the end of the session, definitely we will be happy to play that entire video. With this, once again, thank you to all delegates, and looking forward for the words of wisdom from all our distinguished speakers who are agreed to share their knowledge and wisdom with us. Thank you so much. Over to Charlie.
Thank you, sir. Without your vision, we could not have witnessed such a beautiful event full of enthusiasm, filled up with knowledge. Great leaders don't set out to be a leader. They set out to be different. It's never about the role, it's about the goal. On this note, we are fortunate enough to have the ICAI leader, Honorable President ICAI, CA Nihar Jammu Surya, sir. Leave nothing for tomorrow, which can be done today, and this very well suits our president, sir, who will be sharing his words of wisdom with us. To throw light upon his profile, a man of professional wisdom, vision, and strong organization skills, with a firm belief in all-round inclusive growth of ICAI. CA Nihar Jammu Surya, sir, is the president of ICAI presently for 21-22. He is a fellow chartered accountant from Mumbai, qualified in 1984, and also have served as chairman of WIRC of ICAI for the year 2004-2005. He is a member of Professional Accountants in Business Advisory Group of International Federation of Accountants. He is a member of Board of South Asian Federation of Accountants. He is also served as member of SAFA Committee on Professional Accountants and Business. He is also a board member of Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority, and he is also being a prolific speaker at national and international forums. With this brief introduction, and not eclipse him in between, I request Honorable President, sir, to share his insight. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Charmi. Good evening, everybody. Past president of the Institute, C.A. Prafulla Chhajed, who is also the chairman of the Ethical Standards Board of ICAI. respected past President Sri Amarjit Chopra ji, who is going to address on ethics and sustainability today. Nancy from Canada, who will be again addressing the audience, and Sia Singh Garg, and all the participants. Let me compliment the Ethical Standards Board for selecting a very apt topic today, ethics and sustainability. One may ask question, how long a business or profession is sustainable? Apart from its competence to run it, I think in today's scenario, more particularly, how many ethical practices it follows is more important. And if I look at the past, when people used to weigh a professional or a business in terms of its competence and ethical practices that it follows, both these were kept equal. Whereas today, if competence is little less, it is workable. But in terms of ethics, if somebody is found wanting, the customers, vendors, nobody would select the organization. And in such a time, in the long run, to sustain the business or a profession, ethical practices are a must. At ICAI, we were having our own ethical standards. In 2020, the Ethical Standard Board and finally the Council decided to align ethical standards of ICAI completely with the ethical standards of International Ethical Standards Board. And today, even certain exceptions which were made earlier, like nuclear was not applicable in India, even those exceptions are done away with. And the institute decided that let us not compromise on ethical standards at all, and let us have the best of the standards. And that is how today two speakers from India and one from Canada will be giving uniform view on all matters related to ethics. So today the listeners will have wonderful session. I may only appeal once again that let us all be ethical and bring up the brand of a professional accountant where it is today. In fact, we are always ethical, but let us always vow to be ethical. In fact, a person makes prayers to God every day morning. I think ethics is something which one must remind himself or herself every day before one starts work. And that is how we ensure that we are ethical. Although ethics come from within, but some formal ethical standards are always necessary to avoid confusion on certain matters, whether this is right or that is right is a question sometimes. At such time, the ethical standards which are made formal would come to our rescue and help us. So let us, with the help of these ethical standards, learn it further and be stronger in ethics. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Charmi, you are on mute. Charmi, you are on mute. So on your behalf, I will thank our Honorable President, sir, for his, sharing a wisdom. Being a president, he is having a 360-degree views. And whenever you meet a president, he has a long list to share with the audience and the profession. But, looking into the things, the president has, as he is very expert speaker, he knows in how many minutes what to deliver. And that is the advantage nearby he carries with him. Thank you, sir. With the permission of everybody, just for 1 minute, we will play the, that video, and then afterwards again back to the Charmi for further proceedings. May I request office to play that video for 1 minute, please?
This video has been brought to you by the Ethical Standards Board of ICAI on the CA Connect portal. Let's start by knowing a little bit about the CA Connect portal. It is an indigenous system of listing of CA firms or individual CA practitioners on the platform of ICAI. The objective of this portal is to provide an effective platform for listing, and it shall provide an essential bridge between clients and chartered accountants. The portal will enable the chartered accountants to be connected and get engaged professionally across India. The registered user, whether firms or members, will get an opportunity to meet clients or stakeholders requiring professional services on a single platform, wherein the services offered by the firms or members may be searched based on their area of expertise and locality. Let's have a look at how can a member register on the portal. It's a simple process which starts by clicking on the Register as a Professional tab. Next, from here, the members simply have to type their membership number, or in case of a firm, the firm registration number. After typing the membership number, select the date of birth or date of constitution in case of the firm. On successful verification of membership number or firm registration number, a pre-filled form shall appear for them. There will be additional optional fields for members or firms to enter, viz. Area of expertise or specialization, professional city of working, website address, social media. There shall be an online declaration which the firms or individual practitioners shall be required to agree and submit. Then he or she shall become registered. After getting registered, the members can simply log in from the home page by clicking on the Login tab and then entering their email ID and the self-generated password. After entering the details, click on Login and then you will be redirected to the CA Connect dashboard. Once on the dashboard,
This was just, the few minutes of that. At the end, we will play this entire video, and I must put on record, of course, the contribution of vice chairperson of this particular ethical standard board. Because of election code of conduct, she is not there, but I will be failing in my duty if I don't, recognize the contribution of the vice chairperson of the ethical standard board in bringing out this particular portal. With this, over to Charmi.
Thank you, sir. There are 6 ethics in life that are: before you pray, believe; before you speak, listen; before you spend, earn; and before you write, think; before you quit, just try; and before you die, just leave. As our Honorable President also has said that we should have ethics in life, we will try to follow the same ethics in our life as well as in our profession. But these are ethics of life. To give a sneak peek into the ethics and sustainability, let me take the privilege to welcome Ms. Nancy Fordham. It's an honor having the opportunity to introduce her. Ms. Nancy Fordham is a CPA, a chartered director, and a pursuing the Global Reporting Initiative Professional Certification and the Sustainability Accounting Standard Board, Fundamentals of Sustainability Accounting. With over 25 years of experience, she has successfully focused her career on growth and diversification at the executive level, creating opportunities for social change while delivering economic value. She has significant international experience and has worked with an organization, government, and agencies at all levels to understand what drives success. She has also worked in regulatory setting and have navigated national and international complex multi-stakeholders environment. With this brief introduction, I request Nancy Fordham, ma'am, to enlighten us today with her views. Over to you, ma'am.
Great. Thank you so much. Distinguished guests, fellow speakers, ladies and gentlemen, and good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone. And a sincere thank you to the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India for the invitation to be with you for this ICAI Global Virtual Seminar on Ethics and Sustainability, hosted by the Ethics Standard Board. I am honored to be able to provide a short address on the topics of ethics and sustainability. As a member of the Confederation of Asia and Pacific Accountants, or CAPA, I witnessed firsthand the importance of this issue to the profession. In addition to this, as had been mentioned previously, I founded a consultancy firm focused on supporting organizations as they grapple with how to embed sustainability into their strategies, and then how to disclose and report on those activities. Sustainability in its truest sense refers to the development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. And perhaps the most significant sustainability issue of our time is climate change, which continues to top the agendas of the international community as livelihoods and industries are being decimated and insured losses are hitting levels never seen before, and our global food supply is becoming uncertain. And of course, the loss of biodiversity is staggering. The latest report from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, often referred to as the IPCC, released in August, it conveyed a strong message that our time to act on climate change is running out. The warning call has never been louder, and there's greater pressure on our global leaders to take decisive action on climate issues, with many eyes now fixed on the upcoming UN Climate Change Conference of the Parties being held in November in Glasgow. It may indeed be the world's most significant summit on climate change. Social issues also impact the sustainability agenda, where over the past 18 months, the global pandemic has helped shine a light on social issues that have been buried for years, forcing governments and organizations to deeply consider issues such as equity, public health priorities, compensation, and employment practices. And through all of this, we know that governments cannot solve these issues alone. Support is needed from every sector, industry, and organizations around the world. And the accounting profession has a leadership role to play. Interest in sustainability has been growing since midway through the 20th century, driven by increased global awareness of the threat posed by climate change and human-induced environmental impacts, as well as growing social and governance issues. In September 2015, the General Assembly of the United Nations adopted the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development that aimed to achieve 169 targets and meet 17 Sustainable Development Goals, or the SDGs. The UN SDGs identify a set of global outcomes for the world to collectively achieve by 2030. The SDGs were designed primarily to be actionable by countries, making it somewhat difficult for companies to be able to translate this into SDG-aligned activities and disclosures. But nonetheless, some companies are definitely embracing the SDGs to inform their own strategy and communicate their impacts on broader society. The focus on business sustainability has gone through a number of iterations as companies look to manage their financial and non-financial priorities, from concepts such as the triple bottom line to corporate social responsibility, and now turning towards ESG, or environmental, social, and governance issues. When defining sustainability, especially when looking at it from the role of the accounting profession, we need to consider how sustainability is measured and reported. And this is where the focus on ESG has helped. Environmental, social, and governance refers to the three criteria central in measuring the long-term sustainability and societal impact of a company. ESG is fast becoming the lens through which investors, not to mention consumers, employees, and other stakeholders, are making decisions. ESG offers an objective, globally recognized approach to use in decision-making to ensure the risks and opportunities facing organizations are fully understood and often fully priced. Accountants can bring a mindfulness to society through integration of ESG issues and help to protect the public interest. Around the world, investors, regulators, governance bodies, and the general public are calling for disclosures around non-financial information. The relationship between ethics and ESG involves issues that raise questions for leaders and individuals. And these issues emerge in relation to each of the ESG categories that require ethical decision-making in order to arrive at an ethical response. From an environmental perspective, issues like how to respond to climate change, how to manage waste, how to manage water. Social issues, such as how to address poverty. How do you tell employees a company may be closing down and these people may be out of a job? And when individuals are desperate for work, as we're starting to see a bit now because of the pandemic, can you justify paying them less than the standard rates of pay? And at the governance level, does the board report on its governance? Does it support an ethical culture? And what behaviors are being rewarded in the company? And is compensation tied to ESG performance? And how do you deal with whistleblowers when it may result in reputational risk to your company? And this brings us to sustainability reporting, which is really about being accountable to internal and external stakeholders for organizational performance toward the goal of sustainable development. It's the practice of measuring and disclosing, and it's about protecting the public interest. Society is counting on significant improvements to be made through disclosures and transparency, and professional accountants have a fundamental responsibility to act in the public interest. Professional accountants use their judgment to apply their specialist knowledge and skills to reach informed decisions. They have a responsibility to act in the public interest and to comply with fundamental ethical principles of integrity, objectivity, professional competence and due care, confidentiality, professional behavior, and where appropriate, independence. Professional accountants need to act and be seen as acting in a way that generates and maintains public trust. As professional accountants, there's a code of ethics that is already in place and internationally relevant, and for the most part, widely adopted. There's a need for accountants to ensure that the information produced is accurate, comparable, reliable, and timely. And this is as important for sustainability information as it has been for financial information for decades. What poses a challenge in today's landscape is the fact that we don't yet have consistent global standards for measuring and reporting ESG metrics. There are a variety of reporting frameworks and sustainability disclosure standards in existence, all aiming to offer high quality, non-financial information to stakeholders. Yet the lack of standardization is causing concerns and often leads to greenwashing, which is the notion that a company is acting more responsible in terms of sustainability than in reality is the case. Without consistent standards, professional accountants are left to rely on professional judgment to determine how to measure, monitor, and report in the space. Our fundamental principles require that we be objective and independent of doing audits, and to act with integrity, professional competence, and due care. Demonstrating these fundamental principles is essential in order to produce information that's reliable and therefore trustworthy. In a recent meeting of the International Ethics Standard Board for Accountants, or ISBA, they spoke of the role of the accounting, the role that the accounting profession can play in helping to elevate sustainability and ESG issues in value creation. They spoke of how professional accountants have a role in initiating position changes in areas such as inclusion and diversity and carbon emissions, and also how accounting firms and professional accountancy organizations are in a leadership position to develop relevant guidance. And on that point, CAPA, your regional professional accountancy organization, of which the Indian Institute is a member, is developing guidance focused on ethics as part of its maturity model, which is the guidance series for the development of professional accountancy organizations. Within their guide, they are looking at some strong commitments that are needed by professional accountancy bodies to professional ethics and why it's important. Some of these reasons that are being explored include ethics being central to the accountancy profession and acting in the public interest, encouraging public trust in business and government, providing support for professional accountants, and positioning PAOs as leaders. Being central in the conversation around sustainability and ESG, as the profession has been for generations surrounding financial performance, is critical. An additional challenge is that many firms and companies are starting to provide audits in this space, and they would not necessarily be following quality audit standards. In fact, it is often not professional accountants who are even performing these non-financial audits. So they may not be independent, or they may not be following the same high standards that professional accountants do when they're auditing information. Within the ISBA code and the ICAI code, there is sections that deal with preparation and presentation of information, and that those that discuss how professional accountants are expected to address the pressure to breach the fundamental principles. By using the conceptual framework to identify, evaluate, mitigate the threats through safeguards or to eliminate the threats, the code offers examples of how to mitigate threats when under pressure to breach fundamental principles, one of which could be being pressured to greenwash, so to overstate the sustainability efforts that are taking place. It really is a great resource in helping professional accountants act ethically in this regard. Materiality is also an important concept in non-financial disclosures, just as it is for financial disclosures, for determining what ESG factors should be or matters should be disclosed based on the impact or potential impact the issue may have on financial performance and enterprise value creation. Professional accountants are comfortable in making judgments around materiality and can work with both qualitative and quantitative information, and often in situations of great uncertainty. In a world where the past may no longer be a good predictor of the future, the code may help in navigating this uncharted domain. But there is good news on the horizon. There is collaboration and conversion in the sustainability reporting space. The IFRS Foundation that oversees international financial reporting standards is receiving strong support in becoming the oversight body to also do the same for sustainability reporting through the proposed International Sustainability Standards Board. The Sustainability Standards Board will offer a global solution to address the demand from investors, policymakers, and other stakeholders for a reporting system that delivers consistent, comparable, reliable, and assurable information relevant to enterprise value creation, sustainable development, and evolving expectations. Also, the 5 leading standard setters have committed to working towards a joint vision to harmonize their existing frameworks and sustainability standards. The fragmented approach that exists today perpetuates inefficiency, increased costs, and results in a lack of trust. So moving towards standardization is definitely a step in the right direction. There's a lot of excellent and important work taking place, and I expect we'll see more announcements before the end of this calendar year. These efforts and others should continue to ultimately contribute to the emerging global system to support sustainability reporting and disclosures. And as we've heard many times before, especially as accountants, we manage what we measure. And it's the accountant's role in the 21st century will be to help close the information gap that exists today around all forms of capital: financial, manufactured, intellectual, human, social and relationship, and natural capital. And ethical skills will be required to get us there. And no profession is as well suited for this challenge than the accounting profession. It's indeed an exciting time for accountants and the profession in general, and I congratulate the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India for bringing this topic to light. So thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, ma'am. Being good is a good business, but without ethical culture, there is no salvation for humanity. Yes, ma'am, each sector has a role to play for sustainability. I would like to express my sincere thanks for exposing your theory on the topic to our delegates. Please accept our vehement protestation of gratitude for your inputs and precious time. Thank you.
Thank you. Nancy, before other speakers speak, I have one question. Now, since you are also practicing into this particular area, helping the corporates and others in ESG format, etc., how you see the professional opportunities for the accountants across? So whether one should venture into what you are trying to do, or one should, there is a limited scope, etc.
I actually see the opportunities for the accounting profession and for accountants being tremendous. And there's a lot of work that's being done across all the accountancy bodies around the world in this area. To be able to find a way to provide objective metrics around the sustainability reporting and disclosures and performance, it's really an area that accountants do well at. We know how to measure and report and disclose and ensure that there's transparency. And it's finding that ability to be comparable across companies, across timelines. And again, that's an area where accountants really shine. So it's just a natural evolution for the accounting profession to move from financial and then taking that to the next step, which is looking at the impacts on society and enterprises around sustainability.
Thank you so much. Over to Charmi for the next.
Thank you, sir. Moving on to the next segment. A man without ethics is a wild beast loosened upon this world. So ethical behavior is doing the right thing when no one else is watching, even when doing the wrong thing is legal. Today, it's an honor for us to have the presence of affable, gregarious, generous, dynamic, proactive, and versatile personality, CA Amarjit Chopra, sir. Welcome, sir. To introduce our rhetorician formally, he is a past president of ICAI for the year 2010-11. He is qualified as chartered accountant in 1975 and was a chairman of NIRC for the year 1988-89. He was elected to Central Council of ICAI for 5 terms. He was chairman for various committees in ICAI. He was a member of PAODC, a committee of IFAC, for 3 years and also its vice chairman. He has been a faculty in India and abroad and has been awarded honorary membership of Australian Institute of Chartered Accountants and life membership of Association of International Accountants, London, and has been empaneled as a faculty on the roster of IMF. With this brief introduction, I welcome C. Amarjit Chopra, sir. Floor is open for you, sir.
Thank you, Charmi, for a very, very, I must say, generous introduction. Let me put it that way. Prafulji, I think a younger brother, of course, the past president of the institute. Sundar Nurani ji, Asin Trivedi ji, President in absentia, and Nancy in absentia, and greetings to all the members all across. It can be good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever it is, wherever you are. I must compliment Prafulji for picking up this topic, ethics and sustainability. I think something which has been very, very dear to one's heart for various reasons. I've always believed that sustainability can't go without ethics somewhere or the other. There's no way that you can be sustainable without being ethical. I have also been very, very clear in my mind that ethics is something which cannot be codified. You can never codify ethics. Ethics is something which comes from within, as the President also put it. Ethics is something which is imbibed by you from your family values, from your social values. Your society impacts the ethical practices, basically. The society in which you live, the family in which you live, whatever your father and your mother have inculcated in you, I think that affects your ethical values to a very, very large extent. And of course, the political system in the country also has a lot of things to give so far as the ethical values are concerned. Sometimes I wonder that people keep on doing certain unethical practices and yet these are legal. That's the worst part of it, unfortunately. I've been giving certain examples. People can be there with all kind of charges in courts, the court cases being going against them. Even for the most heinous crimes, the cases are going against them, and still they are allowed to contest the elections, even at the national level or at the legislative assemblies level. Now, this may be legal, perfectly legal that they can do it, but is it ethical? Should a political party give the tickets to such people? I think that's a question to be pondered upon. But it continues. I think only the societies can change it. There are certain societies which have taken care of it, that even if these tickets are given, they will not elect these kind of people. But then there are certain societies where probably the literacy level is not that high, and these kind of people can get elected. And that is detrimental to the interest of the country, that is detrimental to the interest of the society, that is detrimental to the sustainability aspect, basically, if you ask me. I sometimes start wondering and I start asking myself question, can I really codify integrity? Should I really codify that how you have to be honest? There's no way. Honesty is something which you have to be honest. You shouldn't allow a conflict of interest to come somewhere near you. If you are willing to allow a conflict of interest to come to you, whether you are the businessman or you are the professional or you are someone else, or you are even in job, you see, you can be in profession, you can be in a job, you can be in the business, or you can be in politics. If you allow conflict of interest, suppose you are a politician or you are a bureaucrat, you have to allow somebody to you have to permit somebody to start a particular business. And if for granting that license, you are willing to have a conflict of interest and you jeopardize your position, you get your son or daughter or someone else get employed in that particular company. Can you be considered to be honest? It could be legal that your son or daughter has got employment therein. And I can tell you in some of the cases it happens rampantly. Now, even in the profession, I allow my position to be jeopardized so far as the conflict of interest is concerned. At times, if my son is working for a client or my wife is working for a client or my wife has a holding in a particular business or my father has got a particular holding in a business, should I be the auditor in those companies? I think that's a question to be asked. That's the conflict of interest at the end of the day. And can I be really honest in picking up those kind of points? So honesty is something, integrity is something which has to come from within. I think there is some in subconscious mind, it should hit me that I'm not being as honest as I should be. Of course, honesty cannot be comparative. We all tend to believe, and I see generally people saying, I'm more honest than him. Either you are honest or you are dishonest. There's nothing like being more honest compared to the other person. in any case. So whether you are in the business or you are in the profession, you are in a job, whatever you are, I think honesty is something when you don't allow any conflict of interest, when you don't jeopardize your own position for the sake of certain allurements. Say you are in the purchase department of a particular company, you could be a commercial, even as a chartered accountant, you could be a commercial manager in any organization. You are a purchase manager and you allow one of the clients to come on Diwali or New Year or Christmas to come to you and present you with some kind of diamonds gift. Are you not conflicting your interest? I think you have definitely put yourself into that kind of a position. So I think this is something which is very difficult to codify. Of course, the companies lay down the rules. There's no doubt about it. They lay down that there are certain do's and don'ts that you have to adhere to. But I don't think it is required at all. As a person, as a normal human being, I know what I'm supposed to do or what I'm not supposed to do. There is a very thin line of distinction between corrupt practices and conflict of interest itself, very frankly. At times, I say that the conflict of interest is not so glaring that it can fall into the terminology of the corrupt practices. I leave it at this particular thought process for anyone to really look at it. What will constitute that? I sometimes wonder, do I need to really put in that I need to be competent? Whether in the business, if I'm a businessman also, I need to be a competent businessman. I need to be a competent professional. I need to be a competent employee for that particular matter. I have always maintained one thing: any profession survives on two legs. It thrives on two legs. One is the leg of competence, the other is the leg of the ethics. If one leg gets fractured, you start limping. And if both legs get fractured, you crawl. I have always believed that you don't have to limp or crawl, you have to run. And if you have to run, in that particular case, you have to be ethical as well as competent. I think that's very, very important. So what is more important is that under all circumstances, and how do you gain competence? You gain competence by reading, by updating yourself in the different walks of life. So far as I'm concerned, when I have to test a particular person, when I interview a particular person, I don't go by his IQ. I don't give much weightage to it. Definitely, I will give some weightage to his IQ, but I definitely give more weightage to his EQ. When I talk of IQ, it is intelligent quotient, and when I talk of EQ, it is the ethical quotient. If a person is ethical, I think he is far, far more valuable to the organization. He will never make the organization suffer a loss by his own deliberate acts. Whereas if a person is unethical, he may be competent, but the moment the conflict of interest happens, he can make the organization suffer any kind of a loss. And then the sustainability goes for a toss, so far as the organization is concerned. So what is more important from my angle is, it is the EQ, it is not the IQ. IQ has something to do. There's no doubt about it. After all, you can't have absolutely dumb people in your organization. But to me, if I have to give weightage, that if I have to say 60% of the EQ and 40% for the IQ, I will be willing to go for that. I can even go for 65 for the EQ and 35% for the IQ. So to that extent, I may like to get into. And then I think if I am ethical, I will like to maintain confidentiality. Even if I'm an employee, I will like to maintain confidentiality with regard to the organization that I work with. And even if I am a professional, I will like to maintain confidentiality with regard to the client that I deal with. And if I am in the business, and if I am dealing with somebody, I think whatever the talks transpire, I may be able to back the business, I may not be able to back the business. I will like to maintain that confidentiality amongst ourselves. I think even in the political system, the people who have not been able to maintain the confidentiality, they have ultimately suffered in the longer run, for that matter. Professional behavior and due care. I personally feel that if you have accepted a particular assignment, what ethically it is required, then you tomorrow cannot say that the fee which I fixed up at a particular point of time is low, so now I will not perform the job. I don't think that's the professional behavior. There's no way that you can do it. professional behavior requires that once you have accepted the assignment, irrespective of the fee, whether now you are getting into the loss zone or you are getting into the profit zone, please execute it as meticulously, as qualitatively as you would have done, even with a higher fee for that matter. And due care, whosoever is your client, you will take due care of him. You will take all care to protect his interest under all circumstances, but not beyond the law. I think that's very, very important. Because to me, what is more important is my economy, my country, my profession. I'm willing to take due care of the client, but at the same time, I will not sacrifice the interest of my profession under any circumstances. I will not be willing to do something illegal for my client under any circumstances. So I think it is very important when I talk of ethical conduct, when I talk of, and this is what ultimately leads to the sustainability of the professional, sustainability of the business also. I will be dealing with that particular part later on. Objectivity. I think bias doesn't have to creep into the conduct of any individual under any circumstances. Whether you are an employee or you are a professional or you are in the business, irrespective of your dealings with the other person, whether you like a person or you don't like a person, you like his face or you don't like his face. But your behavior has to be objective. You cannot be prejudiced. Because you don't like a person, you will not like to give him a particular, suppose I'm heading a particular department. Somebody commented against me somewhere in the internal audit report. And I'm supposed to, of course, number one, I should not be writing his report, but suppose I'm supposed to write his report. Simply because he wrote something for me, I should not be giving him the negative marks under any circumstances. I think that's very important. That is what will determine my character at the end of the day. So far as the sustainability part is concerned, as I said, that ethical businesses, the businesses which have been run ethically, have definitely enjoyed greater sustainability. I would like to ask myself a question. If Lehman Brothers was run ethically, it wouldn't have collapsed. What kind of an organization it was? You look at WorldCom, you look at Parmalat, you look at Yes Bank. Of course, Yes Bank is being revived now. Look at Diwan Housing, the way the organization was built and the way it has collapsed. Look at Satyam. With the unethical conduct, it was wiped out. Now with the ethical conduct, Mahindras have been able to rebuild it. I think that's very important. These are the examples which can be given to anybody that ethical conduct matters ultimately. To me, it is not the maximization of the wealth which is important. It is the maximization of the sustainability which is important. You may be able to maximize the wealth of the shareholders on a particular date, but if you are not able to maximize the sustainability of a particular business, you are destroying the entire organization, you are destroying the entire ecosystem, you are destroying the entire value which has been created over the years. So to my mind, it is very, very important that we need to create an ecosystem in which there are ethical practices, and that will render the businesses far, far more sustainable in the periods to come. I think through Prafulji, I will like to say one thing. In this last our edition, and I think we have gone along with the world ethical standards, international ethical standards. Now the members in service have been brought in a much greater way so far as the ethical conduct is concerned. And I think this is very important. When I looked at the role of the professionals have been auditing, have been rendering consultancy only into the organizations with regard to the presented financial information which has been given to them. But who prepares this financial information? The financial information is all prepared by the members in service. Now, if they present me wrong information, I think then the question of sustainability goes away. All the businesses which have followed the accounting policies which have been very aggressive, which have been adopted only to show higher profits, declare higher dividends in spite of the fact that there are no cash flows, all those businesses have come to grief. And after all, who bribes the bureaucrats? It's not the professional who bribes. It is the business people who bribe. And who are responsible there? I don't have to comment upon it. So I think that is where the NOCLER comes in now. We have now taken NOCLER into our practice, that if there are any anti-money laundering activities, if there are any corrupt practices, in that case, there has to be a whistleblower. And who will be a whistleblower? The professional. I have believed that for any ethical conduct of a business, what is most important is that you need a whistleblower. And whistleblower needs to be protected under all circumstances. I think the best part of the ethical practices in the business, in the profession, anywhere is that we need to have a whistleblower policy. And in the whistleblower policy, we need to lay down a procedure. And the most important part will be, how do I protect my whistleblower in those circumstances? And any ethical standard and any ethical practices which do not protect the whistleblower, I don't think that they can take the businesses too far. Because sooner or later, the bubble will burst. And when the bubble will burst, people will lose jobs, people will lose, the companies will come to grief, the economic resources of the country will be lost, the productive resources of the company will be lost. Look at the country today. I think I have always given one example. We have NPA level of 10 lakh crores. I can't even count the number of zeros, basically, if you ask me, which come there. I can't count. 10 lakh crore is the worth of NPAs in this particular country. How it has happened? And if 10 lakh crores are the NPAs, it means a lot of businesses have come to a grief. They have come to a halt. And how many people have lost jobs in between as a consequence of this? How many banks have come to grief as a consequence of this? I don't need to say. If we were ethical, I think these businesses would have been far, far more sustainable. Kingfisher is a classical example. Little bit of ethical conduct. I think the airlines would have been running. The employment would have been saved. Jet Airways. See the number of the jobs which have been lost. 30,000 crores of rupees of the banking lost in Jet Airways, for that matter. So to my mind, what is more important is ethical conduct leads to sustainability of the businesses. And sustainability leads to greater employment, greater economic productivity, larger GDP, and I think greater, you can think of the prosperity so far as the country part is concerned. I think Nancy referred to something that in IFRS, we have the situation of judgments. And these judgments, when are applied wrongly, only for the purpose of showing greater profits or showing position much healthier than what it is, I think that creates uncertainty. And that creates unsustainability at the end of the day. So that is why the ethical conduct is more important. So my humble appeal to each one of you is, whoever is participating in this program, I think I am willing to take with a pinch of salt lesser part of the, you can say, competence. You could be 40% competent, but become 60% ethical. The economies will grow, the countries will grow. And the same thing applies to the political people. If our political people may be lesser in competence, but if they are ethical, I can tell you the countries will flourish. Unfortunately, these are the unethical practices on the part of the politicians, which bring many things to grief. So that's all my appeal, and that's all I have to say, Prafulji, today, so far as this particular topic is concerned. Thank you very much, Praful, again, once again, for a participation in this program.
Thank you so much. Of course, Charmi will propose the formal vote of thanks, but this is why, Amarjit Chopra ji is always, whatever is the program, everybody wants you, sir, because in your, such a big experience and the way you present the things, I think you have taken the few corporate names, and that is, I think, it was the, wonderful listening to you as always. And fantastic, sir. And as you rightly said, whistleblowers should always be protected. And I think if we look at some corporate events which are happening, all these proxy advisor firms are now advising the mutual funds and the various stakeholders not to vote for or vote against what management is proposing. I think this is the journey, but definitely, sir, today, I think in your own unique style, which is, unparalleled. You have guided all of us, and thank you so much, sir. I know tonight you are flying out of the country, but this is your commitment over the years that whenever anybody calls you, and you are always available for the profession. Thank you so much, sir. And whatever advices you have given about no clerk and all those things, sir, I can just reply. We are actively working on all those things. We are in fact revising all our booklets, etc., so as to give the proper guidance to the members. This is the update, and thank you once again, sir, from bottom of my heart. And over to Charmi for formal vote of thanks. And I'm quite sure, had this been a physical meeting without me or Charmi proposing vote of thanks, there would have been a standing ovation for you for such this wonderful thing. But thank you so much, sir. Over to Charmi for formal vote of thanks, and then for further proceedings.
Definitely, sir. Honesty, competency, and integrity. Ethics has been well called the religion of science. Science cannot stop while ethics catches up, and nobody should expect only scientists to do all the thinking for the country. It's only we that can make the difference. This is very aptly reflected in your views shared by your good self today. Please accept our gratitude for your valuable time in guiding us today on this topic. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Charmi. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thank you, boss.
Moving on to the next segment, globalization means business strategy and business ethics cannot be separated from each other. Moving on to our session for the day, we have with us CA Sundar Nurali, who will highlight us on international perspective of ethics and sustainability. He is currently the chairman of largest overseas chapter and most vibrant chapter of ICAI, that is Dubai chapter. He has more than 25 years of work experience in the field of statutory audits. He is a good mentor and always look for opportunities to guide students and groom future leaders. With this note, I request CA Sundar Nurali, sir, to address the audience. Over to you, sir.
Just to add few lines, actually these are all our overseas friends, and especially the Middle East chapters. They are actually the brand ambassador for the profession, all overseas matters, and they are always ready to help the ICAI and branding the profession overseas. And I'm quite sure that so many people who have been there in the recent past few years, last 10 years, they have been benefited by the guidance provided by all overseas chapters, especially the Dubai and other Middle East chapters. Over to Sundar.
Thank you, Charmi. As said by Mahatma Gandhi, which I quote, "A no uttered from deepest conviction is better and greater than a yes merely uttered to please or what is words to avoid trouble." These are the golden words which I always remember when it comes to professional ethics. Respected President CA Nihar Jambusariyaji, past President CA Amarjit Chopraji, CA Prafulla Chatterjee, Ms. Nancy Foreman, Mr. Asim Trivedi, ladies and gentlemen, good evening from Dubai. It is an honor for me to be here and share my thoughts in this global webinar of Ethical Standard Board of the ICAI under the chairmanship of ICAI past President CA Prafulla Chatterjee. The efforts of the Institute under the leadership of CA Nihar Jambusariyaji and Ethical Standard Board to organize events like this are commendable, and the Institute has been consistently doing this over the past many decades. I am based out of UAE in Dubai, and as you all know, the Expo 2020 will be starting in Dubai after 8 days from October 1, 2021 till March 31, 2022. 191 nations will be participating in the Expo, and every participating country will be having its own pavilion, which is first time in the history of Expo. Our Indian pavilion in Expo 2020 is set to showcase a resurgent India's march to becoming $5 trillion economy in the post-COVID world. It represents the theme of India on the move and is a unique amalgam of the rich heritage and technological advances of the nation. On behalf of ICAI Dubai chapter, I take this opportunity to welcome all of you to this greatest show on this earth. Expo 2020, coupled with UAE's recent announcement of 100% ownership, foreign ownership, 10-year golden residency visa, and favorable trend on oil sector are just some of the growth stories to look for. With industry growth, lies ahead in the UAE an opportunity for finance CA professionals from India. After the visit by Honorable Prime Minister Sri Modi ji, the relations between UAE and India strengthened and are going through a golden era. This bilateral relationship has matured and transformed into a comprehensive strategic partnership as both the countries continue to explore deeper cooperation in the new areas. About the Dubai chapter is the largest overseas chapter of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. We believe that there are around 10,000 Indian chartered accountants in Dubai, out of which around 2,400 are the members of the Dubai chapter. I just want to highlight the last initiative. When the second COVID wave hit India, we as the chapter took various initiatives, including supplying 75 oxygen concentrators through the coordination from the ICAI New Delhi. I just want to begin my session by a small story which was told by my father when I was trying to join the CA articleship a couple of years before. So there was a practicing chartered accountants who was doing very well, extremely well. And one day when he was entering the office, Goddess Lakshmi, we all respect Goddess Lakshmi of the power of wealth. She came and told him, look, Mr. X, you have been doing a great job. And now it is time for me to pull out some plugs from your profession. So she told, yes, you have 5 Lakshmis in your office. One Lakshmi is taking care of the clients. Another Lakshmi is taking care of the employees and article trainees. Third Lakshmi is taking care of office infrastructure. Fourth one is taking care of the bank balance. And fifth one is taking care of ethics and integrity. I will give you a couple of minutes. You please decide which Lakshmi you want to keep and which are the 4 others you want to forego. Then starting with these clients, because Mr. X, he was not having any other option. So he first let the Lakshmi who was handling clients to go. So that Lakshmi left with all the clients of the chartered accountant, poor guy. Then the second Lakshmi, he chose for employees and article trainees. So when this Lakshmi left, all the article trainees and chartered accountants who were working with him, they also left him. Then he opted for the third Lakshmi who was taking care of the office infrastructure. So when she left, he was on the street without having office. Then fourth Lakshmi who was handling the bank balance, he let her go. Then he told Goddess that I will keep only the Lakshmi who is guarding ethics and integrity. So be it. She blessed him and went away. After 5 minutes, he was surprised to see all the other Lakshmis come back to him. The Lakshmi who was handling clients, the Lakshmi who was handling employees and article trainees, the Lakshmi who was handling office infrastructure and bank balance, all of them, they came back. Then he asked them, why you came back? I already told you that you can go. Then they all told him, look, we will be there in the place wherein you have ethics and integrity. So my advice to all of you is ethics and integrity should never be compromised. This is a small story which I thought I will share with you. Ethics is not just about abiding by the law. Individuals and organizations can act legally and still be acting unethically. Ethical behavior is driven by compliance with a set of values that acts as the touchstone for situational decision, where rules may not exist to cover every alternative. Precisely, ethics are about the integrity of the decision-making process used to resolve any number of issues. Businesses, governments, and other organizations rely on and place confidence in the accountants' work because of their commitment to act ethically and in the public interest. Upholding the public interest is a long-standing responsibility of accountants, irrespective of their roles, and that is ultimately the bedrock of public trust in the profession. The Code of Ethics requires accountants to comply with 5 fundamental principles of ethics. These principles promote a standard of behavior expected of individual accountants and firms and help orient their public interest mindset. Compliance with code in preparing, presenting, and auditing financial information is key to preserving public trust and mitigating fallouts during times of crisis, including during the COVID-19 pandemic. However, for the code to continue to meet its intended purpose, it must be adopted, implemented, and enforced. Digital technologies are ushering in the fourth industrial revolution, which in turn is automating many accounting processes. But in this often confusing and fast-moving digital environment, trust has become almost a currency. And trust is founded not only a profession's record, but the knowledge that he or she is bound by an enforceable ethical code. I remember this famous saying by Mahatma Gandhi, which I quote: "There is enough on this planet for everyone's needs, but not for everyone's greed." The accounting profession has a role in accountability of economic, social, and environmental issues. We need to examine the profession's perspective on sustainability, more commonly known in the accounting field as corporate social responsibility. The accountant's role in the finance function can influence a firm's behavior and outcome by providing insight and analysis to management decision-making in managing risk and measuring performance. Accounting professionals can have an effect on organizations' decision to incorporate sustainability considerations into strategies and plans, business cases, capital expenditure decisions, and performance management costing system. The International Federation of Accountants published a framework for implementing global sustainability standards at the local level. It focuses on the May 2021 building blocks approach. IFAC believes that jurisdictions must begin examining how global standards that the envisioned International Sustainability Standard Board would develop can fit together with sustainability related to reporting requirements set in the jurisdiction level. For your information, in the United Arab Emirates, all listed companies are required to provide to the local regulator with a sustainability report within 6 months after the end of their financial year. Embedding both ethics and sustainability into business are very important. However, both ethics and sustainability are different and can be understood as below. Ethics are how people act every day beyond what is legally required. But ethical expectations are fixed. They evolve over time. Sustainability is often seen to be more about how your company uses resources and affects the environment. Sustainability is evolving. For the leader, it now means shifting towards an overall positive impact on society and environment. However, embedding sustainability is easier than embedding ethics. This is because sustainability, as most companies interpret it, more easily measured. For example, carbon emissions, chemical use, water generated or saved, etc. Ethics can be measured to a degree, but doing so is more complex. This way, because we are dealing with people. People are highly complex beings. There are so many variables with regard to why people do what they do. Ethics are highly subjective. Embedding ethics come from both leadership and culture. Active leadership with clear, simple actions, clear, simple expectations, regular reinforcement of these accountability mechanisms, visible consequences, that is reporting and firing, constant celebrations of success, regular involvement of everyone in living our values. But this is not easy. Is compliance equivalent to ethics? Fundamental difference between compliance and ethics. Companies confuse the two and have ethics and compliance officers. They are almost always lawyers who focus on rules rather than values. This leads to problems. If ethics is a standard, then it simply becomes compliance with a set of written rules. The problem with a rule-based approach, people immediately look for ways around the rules rather considering what meets their values. As often, there is no right or wrong way of doing things. Lot of companies now have headlines, plans to help the mainstream sustainability. For example, you would have seen Unilever, Sustainable Living Plan. Nestle has come out with Creating Shared Value. Coca-Cola, Delivery for Today, Inspire for Tomorrow. In conclusion, ethics and sustainability are different. Ethics is an approach, not a standard set of behaviors, but they can work together very well. You can be a company that works on sustainability without being believed to be ethical, but you can't be ethical in the longer term without being more sustainable. The two together create both significant opportunities in a decision-making framework to get there and stay there. The Ethical Standard Board, under the chairmanship of CA Prafulla Chachat ji, has worked very hard for this event. I commend the great work of the board from the core of my heart. Let us work together towards excellence. Thank you. Over to you, Chairman.
Thank you, Sundar. May I now request Charmi to take from here. Thank you, Sundar. It was wonderful listening to you, and also what is the update as far as the UAE side is concerned. Thank you so much for your presence.
Thank you, sir. Ethics is a code of value which guides our choices, actions, and determine the purpose and course of our life, business, and economy at large. Sir has a belief and follows the saying that knowledge shared is knowledge double. That is truly showcased today in your speech, sir. We would like to express a deep sense of gratitude to you, sir, for guiding us on the topic and sparing your valuable time with us. Thank you, sir. Today, it's an honor for us that CA Asim Trivedi, sir, has given his consent to address our global participants. Welcome the orator of the day, CA Asim Trivedi. To introduce him formally, he is nationally recognized as an author, trainer, motivator, and consultant for auditing standards, accounting standards, IFRS and Ind AS, company law, economic law, commercial law, and security law, and also insolvency law. As such, he lectures all over India. He writes and publishes books for chartered accountants, company secretaries. He has been a special invitee to ASB board in 2011-12. He has been member of study group of ethical standard boards a couple of times and played a significant role in revision of code of ethics. He was also appointed as a trainer for IFRS by ASB board of ICAI to train chartered accountants nationwide in 2010. And he has been involved with committees of ICAI also. With this inspiring profile, who else could have been a better orator today? I request sir to take over the session. The floor is open for you. View, sir. Thank you.
Good evening. Good morning to some of participants. Galaxy of the presidents, past presidents, Praful Chhajer ji, Amarjit Chopra ji, in absentia President Nihar Jambusaria ji, my colleagues in Ethical Standard Board and Chami, my co-speakers from Canada and Dubai. It's honor for me to present my views on ethics and the sustainability to this World Forum. And really, after COVID-19, post-COVID, our accounting profession is going to face many challenges. And challenges and alarm bell have already been rung in China. Yesterday, we have got another scam ringing around us. So I think now this is the right time to talk about ethics and sustainability. So I'm just talking about ethics and sustainability through a small presentation I have to share with you. So let's start with the quote which Nurani ji had quoted from Mahatma Gandhi ji. There was a quote, and I am just extending that quote towards this ethics and sustainability. So
Uh, what I say, why we need ethics. This accounting profession has everything to satisfy professional accountants' need, but does not have anything to satisfy the professional accountant's greed. And this thin line of difference between greed and need determines what is ethical and what is unethical. This is how I always start my talk for ethics. The thin line of difference between greed and need determines what is ethical and what is not ethical. My previous speakers have thrown light on how the ethics is helping us for a sustainable growth of our profession. I'm just extending their views through my presentation. See, I have divided ethics into three types. We have three type of ethics, and we require to have three type of ethics for sustainable growth of our profession as a chartered accountant, as a uh, professional accountant of the world. There are three kind of ethics, and we need to discuss upon each element of that ethics. That's called meta ethics, then normative ethics, and then applied ethics. Whatever we have in our code of ethics in India as part one, that is called ISBA code of ethics, that is International Ethical Standard Board had codified certain ethical behavior for all professionals, fundamental ethical principle. Those fundamental ethical principles are known as meta ethics. On the basis of these meta ethics, they have developed certain kind of do's and don'ts. So those do's and don'ts norms have came in form of normative ethics. And then in form of disciplinary proceedings, in form of contradictions, in form of controversies, in form of explanation, in form of clarification, in form of guidelines, in form of every other directions which are issued by the authorities to their profession, I should say they are the applied ethics. And in India, our ethical standard board has issued three separate books on these three bases. The first book, which is issued by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, describes the meta ethics. What is bare essential for a chartered accountant or an accountant who is in practice or an accountant who is in service? That's called meta ethics. That is a premises over which the whole profession relies. That's called meta ethics. Then in India, we have so many statutes surrounding our profession, so many statutes, so many users, so many authorities who are appointing us as auditors. They need from us. So whatever the user's point of view ethics are there, we have converged those meta ethics along with the statutes, along with the legislatures which are there in India, and we made code of ethics of India. That's called a second book, which is called normative ethics. And then whatever disciplinary actions we have taken on the basis of these normative ethics and these meta ethics, and in what cases we have given clean chit to our chartered accountant, and in what cases we found our chartered accountants to be guilty, we made the third volume. So we have three volumes. One is called meta ethics, one is normative ethics, and one is applied ethics. And I think the third one is a greatest example set by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India by compiling important ethical violations and how the chartered accountants have been penalized, how the chartered accountants have been convicted. So we are having a greater transparency than any other part of the world, that how our institute has taken action. See, we have a separate publication. Let the user of our service should read that particular third volume. They will get to know in last 60, 70 years how our profession is accountable for public, how we take action against our member, how our members have been penalized. And the second volume, that is called normative ethics, we can lay it before the public that see, whatever chartered accountant you are hiring in India is subject to these normative ethics. And internationally, we can again lead before the international forum that see, these are your meta ethics over which we have developed these normative ethics. And if those normative ethics have been not applied or applied, these are the examples we are giving to you. And this is called sustainable growth of the profession, which India is depicting before the World Forum. So these three books which ICAI has issued are not just three books. These three are three different branches of ethics, which over which India is building its own accounting profession. As Chajar Saab said, that we are the flag holders of the ethics in the world. We are the first accounting body which came out with ethics. So definitely we must be leader in the world regarding the ethics. And so our ethical standard board is showing to the world that we have these three meta ethics, applied ethics, and normative ethics at one place, and our members are following all. Now, if I talk about the meta ethics, how the normative ethics have been developed on the basis of meta ethics. I'm just giving an example through these meta ethics, how India has developed its own ethical standards. And in our annual report, if you go through the annual report of ICAI, every year our ICAI is giving each and every detail about how many disciplinary proceedings they have initiated, how many disciplinary actions they have been taken, how many cases are still pending, how many meetings of the disciplinary committee and board of discipline have been there. So that all transparency, with that transparency, we are putting in our, that much transparency we are putting in our annual report, so that every regulator can look into the annual report, every regulator can come and check the quality, what we are putting in the ethics. So let us start with these fundamentals, which have been discussed by my previous speakers also. We have 5 meta ethics. That's called integrity, objectivity, professional competence and due care, confidentiality, and professional behavior. Now, integrity is clearly mentioning that a professional chartered accountant to be straightforward, honest in all professional and business relationship. Now, that integrity should be coupled with the objectivity, that he should not compromise professional or business judgments because of any bias, any conflict of interest, or any undue influence of others. Look, how we developed our technical standards, that means I say normative ethics on these 5 pillars. We have issued standards on auditing 200, included all these meta ethics into those standards, in that particular standard, that while we are performing an audit, we need to have these all 5 meta ethics within it. When we have developed SQC, that's called Standard on Quality Control, which applies to every work Again, we have taken all these meta ethics into those norms. So the parent standard on auditing, which is called Standard on Auditing 200, that includes as ethical requirement that a chartered accountant who is performing his audit must be ethical in all ways. Now, suppose a client comes to any member and he says that due to paucity of time, please do not go into the details of the books of accounts because I have less time and I have to furnish the details to the bank so that I could get loan on that. So, and you are my auditor from last 3 years, 4 years, and you never find any discrepancy in my accounts. So just sign it and just give it back to me. As an auditor, though I'm auditing him from last 3 years, my integrity suggests me that I should be straightforward and honest and will say that unless and until I'm not going to have the complete detailed audit, I cannot issue any of the audit reports to you. It's very simple. It is integrity knitted with the professional behavior. So whenever a person who is accepting an engagement, from that accepting the engagement, that integrity starts. Now tell me, for professional sustainability, this integrity is playing the most important role. If someone comes to us, we have a KYC. After having KYC, if we found that the person's financial statement might be misstated, we will not accept that particular order. We should not accept that a particular engagement. This integrity, meta ethics principle itself, on the first instance, will lead the auditor that you just reject this particular client. This is to take up such an assignment. Don't take up such an assignment. Yes, integrity is the most important pillar of sustainability of any profession. If suppose I set aside this integrity and I accepted that particular assignment for the sake of money, just out of greed, just setting aside the need, just out of greed, I have accepted that assignment and signed that financial statement, and then a fraud comes before the public. And the first finger has been raised towards the honor of the organization, and the second finger will be pointed towards the auditor and not auditor, to the auditor's profession. The name of the auditor will come after the professional. Who is the auditor? And what auditor was doing? Today afternoon itself, I was discussing a matter with my colleague that in Madhya Pradesh, some scams have been found out in some of the societies. We were discussing on the same as a role of statutory auditor. If crores of rupees of scam is published in the paper, obvious finger will be raised over the chartered accountant that what the auditor was doing. And if these kind of fingers are raised without the explanation, counter explanation from the ICAI in form of the ethical disciplinary action, definitely sustainability of the profession will never be achieved. If we want to have sustainable growth of the profession, if we want to give a great brand chartered accountant to our coming generations, we need to be first follow this particular integrity, that we should not allow ourselves to involve any of the assignment where we have even 1% doubt that this might not be right. So what Amarjit Chopra have said, that either you could be ethical or you could not be ethical. You cannot have any comparable degree of integrity, that either you are honest or you are not honest, you are dishonest. So it's very simple that over the integrity, the whole growth of the profession depends. So all chartered accountants who are listening to me, all professional accountants who are listening to me, Just a single request. Kindly do not refrain to accept such engagement where you have significant doubt over the integrity of the entity itself. So we should not take up such assignment. If we stop taking such assignment, there will be definitely going to be a bar, a hurdle to those who are doing such things. But if we keep on accepting such assignments and if we carelessly performing our audit function, the frauds are going to appear time and again, and a finger will be pointed over our profession time and again. And how could we have a sustainable growth of the profession in such scenario? So I request, my hand-folded request, do not accept any appointment if you have a single degree of doubt that there might be dishonesty. We should not. The second thing, the second meta ethics which is there is objectivity. Not to compromise professional or business judgment because of bias, conflict, interest, or undue influence of others. As far as independence is concerned, more than meta ethics, there are normative ethics. And sometimes there is a conflict between the normative ethics and the meta ethics. And here I suggest that we should have an overriding effect of meta ethics over the normative ethics. As rightly pointed out by previous speakers, that you cannot define the independence. How can you define the independence? And if you are defining independence in one statute, how you can define the different level of independence in a second alternative statute? If I go to independence in India, I have two different statutes who are defining the different independence norms. If I go to Companies Act is defining in form of section 141 the disqualifications of the auditor, and they have a different norms for independence of auditor. And if I go to Income Tax Act 1961, and if I go for qualifications of a tax auditor, I will find different rules. They have different thresholds. In one case, I have 5 lakhs. In one case, I have 1 lakh. What should I do? And before that, we have a meta ethics principle, which says as you should be independent. Not only independence in mind, but also independence in conduct. Why should I accept the audit of a company where I was director? No, I'm not director right now, but I was director. Let us think on it. Why should I accept that position of auditor? I was director of a company. Now I am not director of that company. Now I am an independent chartered accountant practicing. That company approaches me to accept the audit. Now the problem is why I should accept the audit. I say, see, I'm independent. I will interpret section 141, subsection 3, clause B, that employee or officer of the company cannot become auditor. Then I will think, am I officer of the company? No, I was officer of the company. Okay, you were officer of the company and now you are not officer of the company. As far as normative ethics is concerned, you can accept the audit. But as far as meta ethics is concerned, you have familiarity threat, you have self-review threat. There might be certain opening balances which were there at the time when you were in the accounts department. You are reviewing them. That's called self-review threat. And then those people with whom you worked so long, you have a familiarity threat. So my meta ethics will not lead me to accept this particular audit, but my normative ethics might allow me to accept the audit. And now here comes, what is the need to be auditor of that company? And why should I have conflict of interest? When my meta ethics says that there might be threat, why my normative ethics is allowing me? In that case, I should give preference to meta ethics rather than normative ethics. That is the point. That is the level which now our accounting profession required to achieve. We have meta ethics, we have normative ethics, but now we need to go one step further and giving more and more preference to meta ethics rather than giving preference to normative ethics, because in normative ethics we can have ethical planning. In normative ethics we can find loopholes between the line. For example, section 139 subsection 141 subsection 3 of the Companies Act says you should not be employee or officer of the company. If I am not officer of this company, I am director of holding company, I am director of subsidiary company. If I am director of subsidiary company, and that too a non-executive director of subsidiary company, and I am conducting audit of holding company, if I go for the normative ethics, it is allowed. Under Companies Act, nobody is going to stop me. But what my meta ethics says, there is bound to be self-review threat. When subsidiaries accounts are going to be consolidated with the holding accounts and you are auditing the holding company, definitely the consolidated financial statement where the figures are coming from that particular company are under your scanner and you are signing it. How can you prove yourself that you were independent at the time of signing the financial statement? That's my question. What rightly pointed out by Amarjit Chopra ji, that why we are involving ourselves into such conflict. And what Nurani ji said as that what is greed and what is need, that we have to draw a line here between. What is need to conduct audit of that company where I was director, and what is need of conducting audit of a company where in subsidiary I am auditor, although law is allowing me. But why should I? Because my meta ethics is not allowing me. So one has to be very clear on that. So we have to give more emphasis to volume 1, because volume 1 of our institute is giving us the basic principles of the ethics. Then there is an application of ethics. Professional competence and due care. We are having CPRs, we are having continuous professional education, we are having plethora of post qualification diploma and courses with ICAI, and we are very happy to put before this international forum that our chartered accountants are pursuing these courses very efficiently. And in this lockdown period, most of my colleagues have done so many certificate courses. They have done concurrent audit courses, they have done forensic audit courses, they have done DISA, some of them have done some more that arbitration course, some of them have done some concurrent audit and all, forensic and all. Those plethora of post-qualification courses are there, and happy to share with you that institute might come out with the data that how our Indian chartered accountants have enhanced their skill to meet this particular professional requirement, which is known as professional competence and due care. And we can proudly put before the world that Indian chartered accountants have encashed that particular opportunity when they were sitting at home in lockdown. They were sharpening their skill so that a professional could sustain forever. That's an example which might be set by ICAI by disclosing the figures that how many chartered accountants have utilized their time in this particular lockdown to get this professional competence in due care. It's an excellent example, I must say, by the Indian chartered accountants to the world that how a profession could be sustained through professional competence and due care. So this is what we are attaining and maintaining the professional knowledge and skill at the level required to ensure that the client or employing organization receives competent professional service, which is based on current technical and professional standard. And mind it, ICAI had converged with Ind AS and they have adopted all international auditing standard, and our regulators are getting declaration from chartered accountants that they have complied with all those technical standards. So that is the way transparency is coming out. We need to act diligently and that too in accordance with the applicable technical and professional standards. We have so many professional standards. Even for internal audit, we have internal auditing standards with which the internal audit is being conducted. We have standard on assurance engagement. We have standard on the related services. We have standards on other specialized services. We have guidance note on special type of certificates. So our literature is full of, I think anyone in the world can name that whether ICAI India has this literature for guiding to its member. I think everything is there. And now sustainability development guidance is also available because we have a separate department for sustainable development. So hand in hand with global development, we are developing everything for that. Be it is rate regulated entities matter, be it is banking matter, be it is insurance matter, whatever matter is there, we are there. And now we have to focus, and the whole world has to focus over the accounting and auditing research. I think not only India, whole world is right now lacking towards the accounting and auditing research. We still need to have establish the usefulness of the IFRS. We still have to establish the fair value concept. We still have to establish that how we can discard the historical cost concept, because financial reporting in certain cases may be misleading if we are complying with the fair value concept. So deep research and deep analysis is required. Right now, intangibles is the biggest challenge which is appearing before us. Right now, the public issues which are coming without tangibles and more intangibles in form of customers, in form of network, in form of their brand image, in form of their number of customer, they are coming, and the Indian people are oversubscribing those issues. Our regulators are also in kind of a dilemma whether we should allow that or not. Then the next challenge which is coming in form of cryptocurrency, accounting of cryptocurrency, that is another matter which is before us. Lot of research is required to generate this professional competence, to generate this due care, to have a sustainable profession. Otherwise, in the world of artificial intelligence, otherwise in the world of these intangible, otherwise Whenever you are now scrolling the Facebook, you are getting one particular caption. I just read out, yes, that we have a parallel earth, a tangible earth which we have, and an intangible earth we have. And they are saying that, would you like to have booking over that particular parallel earth? Now, if these kind of concepts are coming, lot of challenges are before the accounting profession for having a sustainable growth. This professional competence and due care is now alarming us that whatever we are doing is okay, but more and more research is required in this particular area. Otherwise, this artificial intelligence and intangibles will going to take over the tangibles. That's a warning signal. Then comes confidentiality. In this era of information technology, in this era of hacking, in this era of leaking the information, our old norms of confidentiality are not sufficient. I must say, ICAI and the world organizations of accountant, they should focus on how a confidentiality has to be ensured from hacking. Do we have any norms relating to hacking? Do we have any norms to chartered accountant, how they should have backup? Do we have any norms how chartered accountant should secure the information of their client at servers? Do we have any ethical norms relating to how the changing of passwords will be there, how the firewalls will be installed, how the cloud computing will be there, how the private server should be there, how information should be exchanged between two chartered accountants or exchanged between the chartered accountant, and how the digital signatures are required to be used. This is a point where I should request the Ethical Standard Board and ICAI, along with all professional bodies of the world, that we need to establish these ethical norms for chartered accountant. Otherwise, due to inadvertent mistakes, confidentiality is on stake. And if confidentiality is not there, definitely there going to be violation of a meta ethics. That is very important to note. And then comes professional behavior. Compliance with increasing laws and regulations. Now, laws and regulation in international business, we don't have, it's not sufficient to have knowledge of local or domestic knowledge of laws, knowledge of domestic laws. We all need to have knowledge of international laws. Otherwise, in global scenario, when we have KPOs, our chartered accountants are running KPOs. Our chartered accountants are running certain giving services to foreign clients. They have service organizations. In that case, if we need to give quality services, we need to comply with the relevant laws and regulation of the world itself. Now, important is we should not allow ourselves to involve in such a practice which can damage the brand image of ICAI. We have global networking sites like Upwork. See, I am a chartered accountant. Innocently, I went to that particular site and uploaded my profile to Upwork. Upwork providing me the services. Upwork providing me the job, that particular job, assigned me that particular job. I did that job of accounting. And what happens? Upwork gives me money by deducting their share. And here, my clause number 2 violates Chartered Accountants Act, Section 22, the first schedule, clause number 2. A chartered accountant in practice shall be deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct if he pays or allows or agrees to pay or agrees to allow any share, any brokerage, any commission from his professional fees or profit to a person who is not a chartered accountant or a person notified by the council. These are real challenges which we are right now facing. That's why Institute of Chartered Accountants of India introduced CA Connect. It's the same thing which is equivalent to Upwork. It is same thing which relates to international kind of aggregators. Why don't we use that? Why young chartered accountants are not uploading here? And Institute of Chartered Accountants of India is not going to take any cut. Whatever your fees, you and your client just connected. That's it. So with this, I should wind up my talk. And thank you, Ethical Standard Board, Ashish ji, Shankar ji, for giving me an opportunity. Praful Chhajer ji in his absentia. And so, Charmi, thank you very much. Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Thank you, sir. But we have certain queries coming up from our eager participants. So shall I shoot the questions?
Yeah, you can.
The first one is how present organization can become sustainable. Also, how sustainability of earth can be taken care by the organizations.
See, sustainability of the earth is a bigger matter. Sustainability of earth, we have sustainable standards. If you go through ICAI site and you go to global sustainability norms and ICAI, you have 3 booklets. We have issued 3 booklets in 3 volumes. There are 12 principles which have been given in those sustainability standards. So we need to go to ICAI site. We need to find out the sustainability standards. Sustainability standards are explaining excellently 12 points how earth can be saved, how earth can be sustainable, and we can have sustainable development on earth, and what is the role of accountant in such particular sustainability. So those 3 standards I will give you to just read it.
The next question is, please cover how to deal with no-clear clause if client is in default.
See, no-clear, as far as no-clear is concerned, it is quite deferred. We are just having guidelines over no-clear. But before that, I said 250 is there. Whatever requirements of standard on auditing 250 is there, compliance with laws and regulation, we need to comply with that. See, laws and regulation have been divided in a standard on auditing 250 in 2 ways. One, those laws and regulations which are significantly affecting the figures of the financial statement. So we need to apply the audit procedure to obtain sufficient and appropriate audit evidence that whether those laws and regulations have been complied with or not, which are significant in determining the figures of the financial statement. And the other set of laws are there, like child labor, like quality control, like pollution control. So we need to just take care whether any non-compliance is being observed. So one hand, we have those laws and regulations which might affect the financial statement. On the other hand, we have those laws and regulations which can result in penal consequences. In both cases, in one case, we need to apply more and more audit procedure and get sufficient and appropriate audit evidence. And in the other case, we need to have what? Just to check whether there is non-compliance or not. We have a complete checklist of standard on auditing 250 issued by Auditing and Assurance Standard Board of ICAI. You can go and check it out. Right now, no-clear, I'm not dealing with no-clear right now because no-clear is in discussion right now.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for inspiring hope, igniting the imagination to our participants, and our heartfelt thanks for sparing your valuable time, sparing your precious thoughts, and clarifying the doubts of our participants with us. Thank you once again. So can I request, can I request our ESB team to play the remaining audio of our CA Connect portal?
Firm. On successful verification of membership number or firm registration number, a pre-filled form shall appear for them. There will be additional optional fields for members or firms to enter, viz. Area of expertise or specialization, professional city of working, website address, social media. There shall be an online declaration which the firms or individual practitioners shall be required to agree and submit. Then he or she shall become registered. After getting registered, the members can simply log in from the home page by clicking on the Login tab and then entering their email ID and the self-generated password. After entering the details, click on Login and then you will be redirected to the CA Connect dashboard. Once on the dashboard, the members have an option to update their area of expertise where they can select a maximum of 2 areas of expertise or specialization. In addition, members can also update their preferred city of working, as well as give details about their website or their social media accounts like Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Now, let's have a look at some FAQs relating to the CA Connect portal. The first FAQ is, what is CA Connect portal? The answer is, it is an indigenous system of listing of CA firms or individual CA practitioners on the platform of ICAI. The objective of this portal is to provide an effective platform for listing, and it shall provide an essential bridge between clients and chartered accountants. Next is FAQ 2. What is the role of ICAI with regard to the CA Connect portal? The answer is, the role of ICAI will be limited and ICAI will only work as a facilitator and enable search to the user based on the data or information submitted by the registered users. The third FAQ is, what are the benefits for registration? The answer is, this portal will provide the essential bridge between clients and chartered accountants. The prospective clients can search the services offered by firms or individual practitioners based on their area of expertise under one roof irrespective of their geographical location. This portal is a platform which provides choice to the client for selection of CA firms or members as per their need. Moving on to the fourth FAQ. Who are eligible to get enrolled on the portal? The answer is, individual practitioner or firm of chartered accountants can get enrolled on the portal. The fifth FAQ asks, who are not permitted to be enrolled on the portal? The answer is, members who are not holding certificate of practice, networking firms and companies, even if they are registered under corporate form of practice, are not permitted to get enrolled on the portal. Next is, how to get enrolled on the portal. The answer is, individual practitioner or firm of chartered accountants who wants to get registered on the portal should mention their membership number or firm registration number with the date of birth or constitution date respectively at the CA Connect portal to get verified their numbers. On successful verification of membership number or firm registration number, a pre-filled form shall appear for them. There will be additional optional fields for members or firms to enter, viz. Area of expertise or specialization, professional city of working, website address, social media. There shall be an online declaration which the firms or individual practitioners shall be required to agree and submit. The seventh FAQ is it advisable to change password after first login? The answer is, the first password is generated by the system. It is advisable to change the password after first login. This brings us to the eighth FAQ. How to change the password? The answer is, log in, click change password and enter the new password. Moving on to the ninth FAQ. What to do in case I forget the password? The answer is, a member has to follow the below steps in case he forgets the password. Please click forgot password. The forgot password link will be open and then enter your registered email address. Click on the send password reset link. An OTP will be sent on the registered email ID. Check the registered email ID inbox, including the spam folder. Click on the password reset link and enter the new password. When difficulty is faced in login, one may reset the password and then log in again. The 10th FAQ asks, how can I change my mobile number and/or email ID? The answer is, the particulars of members are related to ICAI records in the SSP portal. In case any member wants to update his address, mobile number, and/or email ID, etc., he has to update the same at the SSP portal, that is the self-service portal of ICAI. The next FAQ is, what are the criteria of search available in the portal? The answer is, details of members or CA firms can be searched city-wise where they are located and offering services, and by way of nature of services rendered by them. The 12th FAQ asks, how many areas of service or specialization can be selected by the member? The answer is, members can select maximum of 2 areas of services or specialization. Next is the 13th FAQ. How to change the area of service or specialization? The answer is, after logging into the portal, the members can change their selected area of service or specialization. Next is the 14th FAQ. Whether the place of professional address of member or CA firm will be automatically displayed in the preferred city of working area in the portal? The answer is no. Members or CA firms will have to add The answer is no. Members or CA firms will have to add the place or city in the preferred city of working area, including the place of professional address or head office. In other words, the search results for members or CA firms for a particular place is displayed based on the names of places or cities entered in the preferred city of working option. Moving on to the 15th FAQ. Whether this portal will substitute the already permitted platforms for members in practice? The answer is no. The portal shall be in addition to and not substitution of already permitted platforms, that is firm's website, listing on directory, online consultancy or third-party platforms. The existing modes of listing will continue to operate. The next FAQ asks, what is the privacy policy pertaining to the CA Connect portal? The answer is, the privacy policy of the website may be read at caconnect.icai.org/privacy. Moving on to FAQ 17. What is the declaration submitted by the member? The answer is, member has to submit declaration that the information furnished by them in this portal or website is true and correct. In the event of the information being found false or incorrect at any stage, they shall be liable or responsible for the consequences and actions to be taken. Finally, the 18th FAQ asks, where do we contact in case of a query pertaining to the CA Connect portal? The answer is, the member can submit their query online under the Get in Touch tab or email at caconnect@icai.in, or alternatively call at the Ethical Standard Board at 0120-387-6857. With this, we come to an end to our presentation. Thank you.
So in short, the world faces numerous political, economic, and social challenges that threaten to undermine the welfare of people all over the world. Sustainability provides just the type of approach needs to address these challenges, and the ethics of sustainability gives sustainability legitimacy as a framework. So the ethics of sustainability provides a clear sense of principles that make sustainability more than just a simple problem-solving system, but makes it an idea that is grounded in commonly understood problem-solving system. In short, the ethics of sustainability provides the moral authority behind sustainability as a fair and equitable approach to making the world a better place. I, on behalf of ICAI and Ethical Standard Board, take the pleasure to thank all the dignitaries for their valuable insights and that they shared with our participants today. An event like this cannot happen overnight. The wheel started rolling weeks ago, and it requires planning and bird's eye view for details. We have been fortunate enough to be backed by a team of very motivated and dedicated team to make this event a rocking success. My sincere thanks to Secretariat ESB and the entire ESB team, our tech team, for all the technical arrangements. On this note, I, CA Charmisha, sign off for the day, wishing you a great week ahead and thank you. Namaste to all of you.